am going to do a walkthrough video of DaVinci. It is a Forest River Wildwood X Lite. We're gonna walk through, show you all the buttons and gadgets and everything, so you get to be a confident guest and enjoy your trip. One thing that's very cool about this particular trailer is I've noticed, compared to some of the other trailers that we have here as part of our fleet, the X Lite, I think, is a true statement. This is a 29-ish foot RV, but it's actually a lot lighter than some of the other ones. So obviously must be made of different materials and all sorts of fun things. It is very new and sparkling and clean, and a wonderful RV for not even just a small family, but a pretty large family, because it has a bunk room in the back. We are actually at our storage facility, so you can see that we have a lot going on here. You'll see the slide is out a little bit. It's actually not out all the way. So with DaVinci, you have the option to have it delivered right to your campground. Whether it be local, we do deliver up to 150 miles. Of course, there is a delivery fee, but we will deliver and set up any of our trailers. We have professional drivers, transport drivers that pull the trailers out, and it actually does decrease the cost of your insurance when you're at the campground itself, because it drops down to stationary insurance. We actually have had a couple of guests that have pulled the RV themselves. So we will work together to make sure that your truck or your large SUV suburban thingy has the capabilities of pulling it safely. Just to talk about a few things, if you're pulling yourself, that you want to make sure when you pull out of the facility or pull out of the campground, obviously your stabilizers need to be up. Your steers need to be stowed up into the door. I always check the tires and make sure that the tires, you didn't run over a nail or something as you were coming in. Make sure your cabinets are all secured and closed. I'm not a locker of cabinets, but it is nice to lock the cabinets to make sure they're not going to open as you're driving down the road. DaVinci does have a spare tire, so if there are any problems, you do have a spare tire. But make sure, again, on the other side, that the cabinets are all locked and that the tires are all well, and that you see the awning here. Obviously, the awning is closed at this moment. So those are some final checks here. Ooh, look at the beautiful sunset. Some final checks before you take off from the storage facility or the campground. So more so if you are pulling it yourself, I just want to show you some of the items here. It does have a main battery disconnect that is on the RV itself. Sort of driver's side, back behind the propane bottles and the hitch. So the main power disconnect is in with the ring on the top portion that is in the on position, and we will have it turned off by turning the dial to the right. I believe it's to the right. So if you are pulling it itself and don't have power inside, that could be the reason why. Make sure on that battery disconnect. It does have an electric brace here, a hitch, so you do have buttons to lower it and raise it. There are two propane bottles. I'm just gonna lift this off. Propane bottles inside. We do try to store the propane bottles in the off position, so when you pick up the RV or when it gets to your campground, there's a possibility that these do need to be turned to the left to the on position. We do have a dial that shows you how full they are. Let's see if I can see that dial. And I'm going to turn them into the on position so you can see how that dial changes. Now both bottles are on. And we're going to look at that dial again to show you that now it is all green. So those are showing that they are full bottles. Now, if you have it delivered and set up at your campsite, the driver should turn these bottles on for you and have everything ready to go and have tested the stove inside. What we find is that sometimes the drivers do forget that step. So if you ever don't have any propane and you give me a call, that's going to be the first thing we're going to test just to make sure. If you are pulling it itself, it is a regular hitch here, and there are the chains for the brakes and the battery disconnect cable. Everything is here for you. Walking down the passenger side of the RV itself and looking into the outside cabinets, first and foremost, there are a bunch of bins down here. And if you were having it delivered, everything should be set up for you. But I do want to show you what is down here in the bins if you are setting it up yourself. So this is, I believe it's like a little kitchen sink type thing. That's kind of funny. We have our 50 amp power cable. I'm going to pull that out and shove it on the ground there. You'll see that it does have the portion that goes into the RV itself and then the 50 amp connector that goes into the campground. However, you should always plug that into a surge protector. So in this bin here, there is actually not one, but 2 surge protectors. Right now you will see that there are a bunch of different adapters in this bucket. We don't guarantee that these same buckets are going to be here in this bucket, in this bucket bin when you pick it up. We always ask that you check your power levels yourself. And this does have 2 AC units. It does need 50 amps. If you only have a 30 amp connection, I'm not guaranteeing it's going to work flawlessly. You may have to monitor your power usage and only use this when you're not using that. So it is a 50 amp connection. And we do have a 50 to 30 in there, but I wouldn't advise using it. The next bin that's in the back here is our sewer hose. You'll see the portion that goes into the ground and the sewer hose itself. We'll talk about that a little bit more. You'll also see the leveling blocks that can be used just in case the RV is a little wonky, unlevel this way. You would take those leveling blocks and put them side by side with a third one on top and drive a wheel up on it. You may need another couple. Those are actually also good for the hitch. The next bin back here is everything having to do with water. So we have our water hose and the manual stabilizer jacky thingy. You hook that up there. And just trying to show you what's in the outside cabinets right now. And then we'll go through hooking up the RV in each step along the way. So first, let's talk about water. We have our water hose in this bin that's on the driver's side. And there are 3 ways that you can put water into the RV. And it's very important to hook everything up correctly. So the first one that's outside the main door is the freshwater connection. So this is actually going into the water tank. When you pick up the RV, if you're pulling it yourself or if it's delivered to the campground, in theory, your water tank should be empty. And you're going to hook up to the city water connection. This is solely to fill your water tank. And there are times where maybe it makes more sense to fill it and then use it and fill it and use it. But the freshwater connection is solely for the water tank. Then walking back towards the rear of the RV, right behind the wheel, you'll see the other 2 connections. The first one is the city water connection. That is where you'll most likely see your hose hooked up if you have it delivered, or where I recommend you hook it up when you get to a campground that has water. So you would hook your hose up to this location here and then have the other hand hooked up to the campground, and that bypasses the water tank and goes straight into the RV, and it's basically on demand. When you open up the faucet, when you go to turn on the water faucet or flush the toilet, it will pull the water, and then other times it will not. So I did say that sometimes there's a reason to fill up the water tank. We don't recommend traveling with full water tanks. So if you pull into a campground that maybe doesn't have water connections, there's typically a water fill station at the front of the campground. You can fill your water tank there, then take it that short distance into your campground spot. But sometimes we'll find that it doesn't matter what we do, there's still water dripping here at the city water connection or water dripping at the campground connection. And I hate seeing water dripping and seeing all that waste of water. So in that case, I might fill the water tank and use it and fill the water tank again, so I don't have to see all that wasted water. And then the third location to put water into the RV is the black tank flush. And that has a very important purpose, but really important to discuss so that you understand what that does. That actually sprays water inside the black tank on top of the black tank and helps you get the black tank, where it's the toilet water, all cleaned out and make sure that there's no gooky residue inside. So when you have your sewer hose connected and you have that black tank handle open, and we'll show you that in a little bit, you can hook the water up to here, turn on the water, and it will spray into the black tank, giving it a little bit more water to help all the contents go down. If you do not have that black tank handle open, so in order to drain into the sewer, you're going to cause a huge problem and back up everything into the RV, and that's a no-no. You don't want to do that. So this is something, the black tank flush is something I recommend to do every couple of dumps, or if you see that maybe somebody used the wrong toilet paper, we'll talk about that later. Somebody used something, put something down the toilet where it's not flushing properly, that might be needed. So again, 3 different ways to put water in: the black tank flush, the city water connection, and then walking down towards the front of the vehicle is your freshwater tank. Next, we're going to talk about the power. So I'm going to repeat myself again, just so you don't forget. This is a 50 amp RV, and it will work best on 50 amps. I do not guarantee that it's going to work on 30. You can take the risk, but you may find that the air conditioning is going to, shut off breakers and shut off things, and makes for a not fun trip. So in that back cabinet was the huge 50 amp cable. You're going to take this end with the male portion, the white portion, and you're going to walk that cord over to the passenger side of the RV towards the back. You will see that we already have a cable hooked up to it. We were using the generator earlier, so it would shove into that section there. And then there's a plastic ring that you tighten down onto the RV. So if anybody was walking in this area and tripped, they're not going to pull the power out of the RV and disconnect things, and that would be bad. So the other end of that power cable that is there, that then snakes over to the generators, and that's how we charged it. The other end you would hook up to that surge protector and then plug that into the campground. And be sure that you turn on the breakers at the campground pole, or you may think that the power is not working correctly. When we go inside, one way to make sure that you are using the right 50 amp power is if you look and see that the microwave is on. That's a good way to tell that everything is connected correctly and you have the right 50 amp power. And I'm really not doing this in the proper order here, but we do have our manual stabilizers. It is important that you do put the stabilizer jacks down. First and foremost, it's more sturdy for the trailer itself and attempts to prevent any damage to the framing of the trailer. But also, as you walk around in the trailer, it does wobble around a little bit. So there are four, one on each corner of the RV. So you would take that little manual, that little rod thingy, hook it up and spin, 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 spin in order to lower them down. And then again, vice versa, spin, 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 spin to raise them back up. Everything fits in this outside cabinet like a little Jenga puzzle piece. So please make sure you put everything back in there correctly. Latch the cabinets. And now to walk to the other side and see what's in the other cabinet here. We have some kids' outdoor toys and stuff. There is a huge rug that can be set up at your campground. And there's even the picnic table back there as well. There are times where some of these items do get moved around from one RV to a next. So please, if there's something that you really want to have in the RV, please let me know so that I can make sure that it is there for you. Again, walking back towards the back of the RV, there is an outdoor shower that you can utilize at the RV, but I want to paint a really, I guess you can say, pretty ugly picture. This is right where people are dumping their RVs. So there is a good likelihood that at your campground, somebody had an accident and there was once poopy water here that had drained out from the RV because somebody didn't hook something up correctly. So while you're taking this outside shower, trying to maybe get a little clean, I suggest that you maybe grab one of the bins from the outside cabinets and maybe stand in one of those bins so you're not standing in icky poopy water. Here is where these sewer connections are on the RV. They are on the driver's side of the vehicle behind the slide. You'll see that there is a cap currently on the sewer exit here. So if you were setting it up yourself, you would take that black cap off. You would hook the hose from the bin that I showed you up to that location, put the other end in the ground at the campground. And I like to pull that black handle out just a little bit, just to make sure that everything is connected correctly so that you don't have any accidents. And when you know that it's hooked up correctly, you can pull that black handle completely open and wait for it to drain. So on the hose, you might have seen that it does have a little plastic elbow so you can see the water or gook flowing through there. So I talked a little bit about the black tank flush, and I want to mention it again. So if you are going to use the black tank flush that sprays water on the top of the black tank inside, you want to make sure that the black handle is in the open position. If not, all you're going to do is turn the icky black water into more diluted icky black water, because you're just going to start filling up your black tank and eventually it's going to fill up and overflow. So please do not do that. So after you finish and dump your black tank, close the black tank valve, and then you can pull the gray handle. The gray handle is your gray tank or the gray water. That is your soapy water coming from the toilet or the shower. So that's sort of going to clean out the hose a little bit just to make sure that everything's not gooky. If you're one that's taking a lot of showers, maybe your gray tank is going to fill fast. Always pull the black handle first. Anytime you're going to go through the work of dumping any of the tanks, always pull the black handle first so that the gray water can clean everything out. So if you had the trailer delivered, all of this is already going to be set up for you, but it could be that you fill the tanks before the driver comes back. So you do need to monitor your tank levels, and we'll show you how to do that inside. You need to monitor your tank levels and make sure that your black tank and your gray tank are not full. And if you need to empty them, this is what you do. Pull the handles. When the driver comes, it would be really great if you've gone through the work to dump your tanks towards the end of your trip. But when the driver comes, they're instructed to do that as well, to just make sure, because we always want to make sure that when your trailer comes back to the storage facility, that we're coming back with empty water tanks, empty black tank, and empty gray tank, so that A, we're traveling with the least amount of weight, and B, we don't know if the RV is going out that next weekend, if it's going to somebody that's boondocking that maybe doesn't have the ability to dump. So we always want to make sure that we dump, per each reservation. I'd say one of the coolest thing that DaVinci has is this outdoor little grill area. So I'm going to open it up and show you inside. It has a little barbecue here that you can pull out, lift this up, and pull it out. You'll see back behind there is a water hose that you can connect up to this water outlet here, or this water valve there, so that you maybe can rinse off your feet or rinse off your fish or whatever it is outside of the RV. But you'll also see that there is a gas connection at the back of this barbecue, and you can hook it up to the RV itself down below the bumper here. So if you can see on the back bumper, underneath the bumper, there's this little blue cover. You can pull that out, and it's a quick connect into that location, and then you're actually using the propane from the RV rather than having to worry about gas bottles. In order to turn it on, you just push it in and turn it into the light position. And then you have a fridge in the outside as well, which is really cool to keep some waters cold, or some beers or some other things cold there for you. And a little shelf to put some baskets, and maybe if you're making bacon and eggs, it's a little prep area there that you can use to cook outside of the RV. You'll also see that there is an outlet here and another outlet a little bit down the way if you wanted to hang some lights or do some other fancy things outside of DaVinci while you're enjoying your glamping experience. Well, we're pretty much ready to go inside. Walking into the RV, you'll see we actually don't have the slide out completely. We were really close to the pole, so hopefully when you park at the campground, you're not as close as we are. We're losing about 2 feet, maybe an inch, foot and a half here from the walking area in the RV. So this is absolutely not how it will be at your campground. It's just impromptu. Just use your imagination, because right now I can't open the slide out anymore. So I did hook it up to the generator in order to provide some power. And the first thing I want to do is turn on the air conditioner. It's a pretty standard air thermostat here. You're going to click it, move it to cool, set it again. The fan is on high. And then you can set the temperature. If I want to set it to colder, I can cycle through and set it to 20 degrees Celsius. Not that it ever is going to get to that, but the AC unit is in the ceiling here. And there is a little simple trick to this AC unit. If these vents are in the open position like this, then the bulk of the air is going to come right in this living space area right here. But if you close these vents, then the bulk of the AC is going to be divided amongst all the little vents in the ceiling. What you might find is that if you're at a vent closer to the AC unit, it might be a little stronger than if you're farther away from the AC unit. But it is nice to be able to focus a lot of the AC in one area in this cooking area during the day. Going into the main bedroom, you walk in here and it's got a queen size bed. I'm kind of happy that I sleep on the right side because I feel like I have an easier access into my bed. They definitely did not provide a lot of extra space in this bedroom area for walking around the bed. There is a pretty good sized TV on the wall here, some cabinets on the side and above, some shelving. Sometimes while I'm trying to show guests every single button, I discover things myself. Check that out. It actually reclines the bed into a up position that then does provide you more room to walk around the RV during the day, and also a comfortable space in order to watch the TV. Oh, that's a really cool bonus feature that I just now realized. There's also these really cool cabinets by the front doors. I think that they're really great to put shoes in and things that maybe you, things that, maybe purses or things that you may want quick access to by the door. It is really a shame that I'm doing this walkthrough video when this slide is not all the way open. There is a nice fireplace and some shelves and a nice TV, plenty of place to store some extra things that you might need. Then this couch and dinette is very unique. I didn't really understand how cool it was until I started trying to take some staging pictures. So I'm gonna show you some of the tricks here. So first and foremost, you can have this banquette or this wall here that's here in this position, providing you a very large dinette area in order to sit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 shorter people or smaller people, family, kids. But it provides you a really large dinette. And then you have, a standard size couch here. But what's kind of cool is this section does come completely out. And then you can attach it over to this side. So it puts the wall right here so that you have a smaller dinette that maybe only seats 4 people, but a much larger couch area, one that has a kind of a chase lounge that provides a little bit more comfortability, for resting during the day, which is really nice. There is an extra little cushion here that when you change it to that position over here, you'll notice that the couch is a little bit farther forward. So this provides a little extra cushion so that it's a straight, couch rather than having a little jagged, forward back type thing. And then obviously you also can take that center section completely out as well to have a fully open area. Not sure exactly where you would put it. Maybe you could fit it in the outside cabinet if you really don't want it there. But it makes a really amazing space here inside the RV. There is some storage underneath the couch. I do find that guests that store things under the couch tend to leave things under the couch. So please remember to grab your items under there. And then this couch does also pull into a full-size bed. So you can have another sleeping bed here and an additional one over here, because this dinette table, you can pull it up off of its base here, lower it down onto these black ledges. You know, obviously you take the legs off before doing that and store them underneath. This table lowers down. So you have this whole huge bed area if you have a larger family to provide more sleeping for more people. There's also more storage under these banquettes as well. Now, when you lower that bed down, you kind of just maneuver all those cushions to cover the dining room table so that it's comfortable. But I do caution you, do not sit with your full weight here on the table. You will break it. So you want, if you're putting your shoes on, you want to put your shoes on in this area over here. Then when you lay down to sleep and distribute your weight, you will not have any problems. Such a cool layout for that dining room area, the living space here. This has a nice, good sized kitchen here with a nice prep area. This stovetop is not a glass top stove, so you do need to open it. Please leave it shut while you're driving, while you're pulling it, so that it doesn't slam shut onto there and break the glass. And make sure that when you open it, leave it in the open position at least until this whole area is cool. You don't want to break the glass. You know, luckily it's an inexpensive fix, but you know, it's just a big hassle and a lot of mess, and we don't want to clean up glass everywhere. There is some trash underneath. There's plenty of silverware and cooking utensils. We are going to replace the dinnerware that's up here. So that should be here for the next reservation. There is a hood. This stovetop, you push it into the light position, and then with your left hand, you're going to click this. And that's actually going to ignite the propane. You can see maybe in the video. The stove lights in a very similar, this oven lights in a very similar way. You would push this into the light position. But what you're actually lighting is the pilot that's all the way down underneath the shelf, all the way in the back, and it's just a little bitty blue pilot light that when you do the clickety clicks and the clickety clicks, that blue light's gonna light and go out and light and go out. And maybe after the 6th or 7th try, it's gonna light and stay lit. And when it does that, then you can turn the dial in order to turn on the oven, and it will go whoop, and the whole oven will light. Your microwave is up hidden behind the hood here. So you open it up. And one of the things that you may notice, if you have the right power in the RV, meaning you have the 50 amp or ample power to light the RV, to provide power to the RV, the microwave will be on. So sometimes when I get troubleshooting calls and the guests say, well, oh, I don't seem to have power, or the air conditioner is not working, my question is always going to be, is the microwave on? Because it's a really easy way for me to tell what type of power you are using in the RV. Because if the microwave didn't have any lights on it, then that means you're only pulling from the batteries. That's not going to power your air conditioner, the outlets, like a higher powered like hair dryer or toaster. You need that 50 amp or 30 amp power. This particular RV does need that 50 amps. It's not going to run well off of 30. So please make sure that your campground reservations are 50 amp. There are adapters in there for 30. It's just not my recommendation. Moving on. In theory, your refrigerator should be on if you have it delivered from your driver. But it is a very simple on and off here. You just turn the dial to the coldest position. The driver we recommend to the drivers that they turn on the fridge when they come to pick it up so that it gives it a head start getting to the campground, to make sure that the fridge is on when they get to the campground. And then, depending on when you arrive, the refrigerator takes maybe 3 hours or so to get to temperature. Sometimes it might take a little bit longer. And do not put warm food in a cold, do not put cold food into a warm fridge. The sensors inside the thermostats are very fragile or very sensitive. And if you put a frozen spaghetti sauce that you made at home into the fridge, and then you turned on the fridge, it's actually going to sense the temperature from the frozen food, and the fridge might never even turn on. So just make sure that the fridge is good and cold before you start putting food in it. Going into the bathroom, let's turn on a light here. It's over here by the door. You have a really decent sized shower. Like, you could stand in there and even turn around. It's a good sized shower for a trailer. It does have a standard shower nozzle, so hopefully the water pressure works for you. There's an on and off. The water temperature, is here. And it does have a tankless water heater. So what that means is you can turn on the water heater here, set the temperature, and it will instantly be hot, or relatively instantly. The biggest common problem when people try to turn on the water heater is that the propane bottles are not turned on outside. So if you're having problems with your water and the water not getting hot, that's probably the number one thing to check. But please call me and we'll work through it together. There is a fan up on the ceiling. You'll notice that there is water at the bottom of the toilet. When you flush the water, when you flush the toilet, you want that water to be at the bottom of the toilet in order to provide that last barrier from the black tank and from the sewer connection. Underneath your bathroom cabinet, there are toilet chemicals, which I do not see. So I'm going to make sure before this next reservation that there are some toilet chemicals. We typically put the chemicals in during the walkthrough, but if you dump during your stay, you will need to add more chemicals, and that just helps to make sure that the toilet paper is dissolving rapidly, and it helps with the smell. You do need to use the RV safe toilet paper, and we will provide enough for you. You cannot use anything with the cuddly little bears on it. You definitely need the rapid dissolving, made for boats and RVs toilet paper. And hello. And obviously the sink and everything is here. So anytime you dump, you want to make sure that you add more chemicals. There's a lot of times where GSCI switches get switched off, and again, we get calls about different power issues. The GSCI, at least one of them, is in the bathroom. I'm going to turn the light off in here and walk out. There's a nice pantry over here. Again, the slide that's not all the way open. Oh my gosh. And look at that. I can't even open it. Let's see if I can get the phone inside. It's a huge pantry to provide some extra space for food or extra items, maybe games, whatever you want to bring. So there is some more storage space there for you. And one of the cool things for DaVinci is inside this second whole bedroom. So these particular lights are the push button one. There is no light switch on the wall, so you do have to push it on. There are USBs. There is a place to put additional TV here in the back, but as you can imagine, I don't feel like the kids need an extra TV in their room. There are 2 bunk beds on the left-hand side and another top bunk here. There's a couch for for people to hang out during the day. And then this actually lifts and pulls down to a full-size bed to provide maybe, an adult, maybe a little bit more comfortable, or an older teenager. And this bed does lift up and store into the up position. There's a little latch up here to provide some more room if you don't need that bed. There's also, a lot of big windows out here that will help the, get some light. And again, this I'm feeling right now, I mean, there's air definitely coming out of here, but definitely not as strong as in the living space. So, just keep that in mind when you have vents open and close of what's going to be cooler and warmer in the RV. The main controls for the whole RV are up here by the door, outside the bedroom. So you have your fresh water. It shows you it's empty. The battery level right now, it might show you full, but right now it's connected to a generator. So it has power from the generator. You're not getting a true reading on the batteries. Then there's the black tank. Right now it says it's a third. Gray tank here says it's empty. We have the water pump. It's actually off right now. So that's why when I flushed the toilet, it splattered a little bit on me. Then if you look outside, it's actually getting dark now. There are some awning lights and some accent lights. You'll see those are actually above the slides. You have some lights inside. There's a dimmer switch on them as well. You can turn them off. The main cabin lights are here with a dimmer switch on them. Your slide out button is here, and I'm actually going to close the slide now so you can see how it pulls into the in position here. Remember, again, it wasn't all the way out. So you'll see how huge that slide is. And when it's in the in position, you really can't walk into the RV so much. You can get over the couch area in order to maybe put some things in the fridge and the cabinets, but you can't really get into the bedroom so well. And then you have your awning switch here. Here we go, open and close. I do want to talk about the awnings. There's the one big awning throughout. I'm going to put in here. The awning is a great asset to have here in Florida. However, you do need to make sure that you have the awning closed anytime you are not using it. So I always say if you are outside enjoying the awning, that is wonderful. But the second you come inside, you close the awning, because if anything happens to the awning itself, the insurance that you have is actually collision insurance, and you were not driving when the awning maybe got damaged due to a thunderstorm or something. So that's coming off of your security deposit. So that's not a nice thing to do. You won't like that ending to your trip. So you do have a screen door here. So if you do have a nice fall weather, you can leave the door open and have the screen. Just to go over some safety things, we do have a fire extinguisher that's by the door. I actually had to open the slide up a little bit to figure out where the smoke alarm was. It's actually up above the slide, so if the slide was open, then the smoke alarm would be exposed to where it actually would be more helpful than where it is. Then we have our CO2 that's outside of the bathroom door underneath the thermostat. And the breakers are actually in the kids' room down here on the floor. The breakers and the fuses. So that is all of the safety stuff. So again, we are finishing up our walkthrough for DaVinci. I'm just going to start kind of getting ready to go here. And we're turning off some lights. I'm walking out of the bedroom. I always, before I disconnect from power, I like to turn the air conditioning and everything into the off position so that when the generator or the power hooks up, it doesn't have to do all of the hard work in order to start an air conditioner as well. I'm actually going to turn it off. Before you travel, you want to make sure that the glass top stove is closed, and any projectile objects that are on the counters, you want to make sure you put them away. For right now, I'm just going to put that in the sink. You'll see that I opened up the slide just a little bit, so I'm going to close that slide in so that it is travel ready. Look outside to make sure that the awning is indeed closed. And last but not least, I'm just gonna turn off the lights. It's time to go home. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough video and it answered all of your questions. And thank you so much. We'll see you at your campground.